Good afternoon, brothers and sisters in Christ. Sending blessings and love to you all today. Today we'll be continuing in the book of Proverbs, and today we'll be reading Proverbs Chapter 2, where Solomon imparts wisdom on the benefits of seeking wisdom, understanding, and the fear of the Lord. And when we're reading this, I'll be going verse by verse, offering explanations and applications, and where we can cross-reference to other parts of the Bibles for more of an understanding of what God is trying to speak to us. So let's begin with reading. My son, if you receive my word and treasure my commandments, with you making your ears attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding, yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search it for it as a hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice and watching over the ways of his saints. Then you understand righteousness and justice and equity, every good path. For wisdom will come into your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you. Understanding will guard you. You're delivering you from the way of evil, from men of perverted speech, who forsake the paths of uprightness, to walk in the ways of the darkness, who rejoices in doing evil and delight in the perverseness of evil. Men whose paths are crooked and who are devious in their ways. So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words, who forsakes the companion of your youth and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house sinks down to death, and her paths to the departed. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you will walk in the way of the good, and keep to the path of the righteous. For the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out of it. And that's what's up for chapter 2. And now let's go into the word. Verses 1 through 4 says, My son, if you receive my word and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart by understanding, yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures. Solomon emphasizes an active pursuit of wisdom. It's not enough to passively listen. One must treasure and seek and search for wisdom fervently. The Apostle James echoes this sentiment in James 1:5, saying, If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. How do we apply this to our life? Actively seek God's wisdom through his word, prayer, and godly counsel. In verse 5, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Understanding the fear of the Lord is a foundation to biblical wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. This fear isn't about being scared, but involves reverence, awe, and a deep respect for God's power and authority. And how do we apply this? Cultivate a respectful and reverent relationship with God, acknowledging his supreme authority in your life and my life. Verse 6 to 8. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding, and stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the path of justice and watching over the way of his saints. This verse is affirmed that wisdom comes from God. He protects those who live righteously. Ephesians 6:11 encourages believers to put on the whole armor of God as a form of protection. How do we apply this, you ask? Live with integrity and righteousness, trusting God for protection and guidance. in verse 9 through 11. Then then you will understand righteousness and justice and equity. Every good path for wisdom will come into your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you. Understanding will guard you. Acquiring wisdom affects one's heart and soul, leading to understanding and appreciation of righteousness, justice, and equity. The transformation influences not just thought, but action. And how do we apply this? Let the wisdom of God transform your heart, leading you to live justly and righteously. Verses 12 through 15. Describe how wisdom will save you from the way of evil, from men of perverted speech who forsake the paths of the uprightness to walk in the dark. Wisdom provides discernment to avoid the influence of those who are morally corrupt and whose paths lead away from God. We apply this by using a godly wisdom to discern and avoid bad company or immoral influences that could lead you astray. Verse 16 and 19. Focus on being saved from the forbidden woman, the adulteress, with smooth words who forsake the God of her youth and forget the covenant of her God. Here Solomon warns against the dangers of adultery and sexual immorality, which not only leads to personal ruins, but also betrays one's covenant with God. And we apply this by staying faithful in your relationships and avoid the temptation of infidelity and immorality. And finally, verses 20 to 22. So you will walk in the way of the good and keep to the path of righteousness, for the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out of it. The chapter concludes with the promise that those who follow wisdom and live righteously will be rewarded, while the wicked will face judgment. And how do we apply this? We'll pursue a life of righteousness, integrity, trusting in God's promises of blessings and protection. In conclusion, Proverbs Chapter 2 encourages an active and fervent pursuit of the wisdom, promising that such pursuit leads not only to personal integrity and protection from evil, but also to a deeper relationship with God, who is the source of all wisdom. And brothers and sisters, I pray, read this on your own and get your perspective of what God is trying to tell you about wisdom. Don't always just take my word for it. Read it. And take your time reading it. When we take our time and read His word, God illuminates it. And always make sure, before you do, go into prayer. Have a blessed day, brothers and sisters.